I believe the last episode was 2037. It's now 2059. We've skipped quite a bit of time because there was nothing interesting going on entertainment-wise. I mean, I was having fun, obviously, but I didn't think it would make good television. There is quite a meme that is referenced very often in the Terra Invicta community that like 90% of this game is desperate struggle, closing loops, deeply unfun. You get the first 10, 15 hours of political intrigue, and then you get a long war, and then you win at the end, and it's amazing. It feels great. Well, we're finally at the point where we are winning against the aliens. Now, I had several disastrous battles, not one, several disastrous battles, where I had not transitioned from missiles into longer range lasers fast enough, and we lost Earth orbit, we lost control of Mars and Mercury orbitals. We've basically lost all of Mars, but that's fine at this point. We've transitioned out of needing Mars over the last 22 years. But every month would basically bring new ships being created on both sides, being sent to the orbits of those three planets, fighting it out. One side would win and hold the orbits, the other side would lose. If the aliens held the orbit, they would try to bombard. Eventually, we got enough technology that we were able to put battle station defenses on our bases, so they started sending more ships to overcome the battle stations. So then all of the Mercury mines needed like 4 or 5 battle stations just to bonk the aliens on the nose, and then the aliens ended up having 15, 20 ships in orbit that all had red nose cones because their bombardment weapons were burned out, and also they were out of fuel and out of engines. And at that point I decided to clean up, and we got a ton of alien exotics, and using those exotics we made enough ships to finally secure Earth orbit, which brings us back to where we are. Couple more things to cover. One of our counselors died. I don't remember whether that was even in the last episode, but now our counselors all have like 20 plus additional years of life, and they're all juiced up except for Druva Samiska, because she is the replacement counselor who replaced our guy who died. The Super EU now covers all 6 inhabited continents of the Earth, so it covers all of Europe, Asia, South Africa. So what happened is South Africa joined the renewed Commonwealth with the United Kingdom. We also picked up all of Australia, parts of Indonesia that all joined the Republic of the Cross, New Zealand, all this stuff joined the Republic of the Southern Cross is what it was called, sorry. Republic of the Southern Cross, and then the Republic of the Southern Cross joined the United Kingdom. And of course we've got a little tiny bit of Kourou from France and Canada. So there you go. Super EU, all 6 continents. The greater North American states, the United States of North America, are rolling up to take everything under their aegis. And we've also united Super South America. It's technically like Super Bolivia, actually. But we got some green arc laser ships in orbit and burned away all of the Xeno terraforming. It took a very long time, and it was in over 200 countries. Yeah, it was bad. It was very bad. And we've blown up tons of alien structures. The aliens have landed armies repeatedly. Like, I just could not contest orbit at that point. We've done some nukes. We've done some nukes. We have the highest atrocity ratings. When the atrocity ratings of Humanity First are 6, you know something has gone wrong. Anyway, we control 3 super power blocks, especially the Greater EU, which is a super duper power block. And yeah, so everybody else is kind of fighting it out. China, India is formed the Pan-Asian Combine, underneath the academy, and they are desperately trying to keep the Pan-Asian Combine from flipping to the servants. We're up to like 50 plus alien agents have landed, and I don't even need to kill them anymore. All of the other factions, except for the servants, now need to regularly kill aliens, and they encounter them, and it's a problem. So the real thing to note is that we pushed ahead scientific research. That is how you win the game, is not economic parity or manufacturing power. Well, now it's manufacturing power, but before it's research. We needed to get on technological near parity, and we are now there. So I wasn't recording when this enormous battle happened because I was kind of surprised and I thought I was going to lose it, and then I won. And I think this is the big break. I think this is where things are going to turn different, where we're going to start winning. So we need enormous amounts of metals. Let's look over the ship classes and why we need so many metals, I suppose. So there are a bunch of variations of the Inner Sphere class, but we'll talk about their basic usage, and then we'll talk about the upgraded version of it. So at the core, the Inner Sphere Titan has 578 frontal armor. It's an enormous amount of armor. The front laser tends to get damaged pretty easily, but it can take hundreds, sometimes even thousands of hits from the aliens without dying. And then with 50 side armor, it's also quite difficult to destroy there. Later upgrades of the Inner Sphere would raise the rear armor to 20 because we started taking hits from the smaller ships that would get behind us, and a lucky missile hit would eliminate one of these bad boys. And we were also reaching a point where a ship would take several hits to the rear and would survive them, but then would not have any... it would not have a working engine, or the engine would have like 0.001 millig's and be functionally unable to move. And so the ship would take like 80 weeks to move from one Earth orbit to another to get repairs. So it was functionally useless and dead. We made some interesting choices in regards to armaments here, but the main thing to note is that we picked up the Firefly drive. It took us way too long to get here. I had invested heavily in fission to get the Firestar Fission Lantern drive, which has incredible movement. Some of our smaller ships were picking like 4G acceleration during combat, but that was the problem. We had not... I focused on getting the fission drives to get that high acceleration because I wanted to get side shots on the aliens faster in order to hit their side and rear armor, which is much easier to get through. But by the time that we did that, we didn't have the laser strength to break through to them. So, you know, we were playing catch up on lasers, and you've already seen that our coil guns were just not getting through the laser barrages. But that actually turned out to be a blessing in disguise. We have turned that into our strength. We'll talk about that more in a sec. Anyway, going for the Firestar Fission Lantern, I didn't do it fast enough, and I didn't transition into lasers quick enough. Good lasers. Ultraviolet lasers, mostly. These ultraviolet phasers, super powerful. Anyway, the Zeta Deuteron Fusion Torch is a fusion drive, so... it is not the most efficient one because it's closed cycle cooling. It means that it needs to have an enormous radiator set, which makes it super vulnerable to radiator damage. But we're using tin droplet radiators, which are super invulnerable to radiator damage. However, having to use that much extra metals for the drive means that each of these ships is extremely heavy. Some of the better drives have open cycle cooling, like antimatter pulsed plasma core lantern, which use antimatter reactions as part of a fusion, I believe, in order to just shoot the heat out the back. Like the heat of the generation isn't used to drive some other engine, the heat generated is the thing that is pushing out the back end. So you don't need as much radiators. Anyway, so these bad boys have a main gun. The main gun usually gets damaged after a while. There's no getting around that. Then it has a secondary ultraviolet phaser battery. So these things are pretty interesting. If you leave them in Guardian mode, they will help intercept incoming missiles, railgun projectiles, that sort of thing. But whenever they get a chance, they're also going to put pretty hefty damage out and track very well. They can hit in any direction rather than just 30 degrees forward like the nose cone. So what happens is the smaller alien ships break up, try to go for side shots fairly early on, and then get absolutely devastated by these phaser batteries just reaching out and blowing them up. We did iterate a little bit on the design. Talk more about that. 40mm autocannon is just nice to have when the ships get sailing into close range. Just start pounding on the enemy. And it's also great for intercepting projectiles. And then point defense phaser turret. This is component armor. It reduces internal damage by 25%, which is really pivotal because when it's combined with the repair bay, it means that our damage control teams have longer ability to find internal damage and repair them, because with 578 forward armor, we're going to take a lot of hits all the time, and if we can just keep repairing the internal components, the ship can stay functioning. We also have a salvage bay. This increases the amount of salvage we get from a battle by 10%. For most of the materials, you can see we have quite a few materials up here at the top, so those aren't super useful, except the bonus exotics are extremely useful. So this ship only costs 5.2 exotics. Now, technically, that is quite a lot of exotics, but its upgraded version will take a lot more. So the inner sphere was upgraded into the inner sphere block 3 class, which uses 123 because it uses hybrid armor. It uses the best human armor combined with alien exotics to make a super thick armor that weighs a lot less, so the ship's got more oomph. Now, this ship, the original inner sphere class, did not have the cruise delta V necessary for anything more than inner system transits. It could go from Mercury to Earth using extreme transit points and long travel distances. The inner sphere block 3 type and some of its colleagues, the Ilkhan, the Way of the Clans, the Kerensky, Crusader 2, all of those have long travel distances due to having 90 plus, which turns out to be exactly the amount needed. I believe it's 89 delta V will get you from our orbital base at the Anasi Plutoid to the alien super base in orbit of Luisa. Now, you'll notice that the aliens are recalling fleets from all over the fucking universe to Luisa. Why are they doing that? Why are all of the alien forces withdrawing from all over the place back to Luisa? Well, let me flash this thing at you. This is the battle that happened just before I started recording. So I did the battle. I thought I was gonna lose, and then I won huge. So yeah, we've been sending roaches. They've been regularly iterating further and further out into the belt, and we have been trying to get anything close to the alien base at Luisa that we can. We got a surface base up at Anasi. We had Anasi set up a orbital station that had extremely heavy defenses, and then a set of shipyards, and then we created a set of ships custom built to iterate on the inner sphere class, which we knew was working, in order to make a super expensive long range transit version specifically to travel from Anasi to Luisun. And technically they can get through a series of very short hops, they can get further and further back in system, but they are not going to be going very far. Like, it's not a good time for them. It's a bad time. 90 is not a lot of Delta V. It's the armor and the radiators, but most of the armor weighing them down. So yeah, we killed literally hundreds of alien ships during this battle. It took hours of actual real time. We lost several ships, but we killed so many alien ships. It has, I think, reduced their fleet strength by like 25%. And our fleet is so mostly intact, we're just going to go repair it now. I think that there is a fair shot that this fleet can't get the alien base at Ludemann yet. I don't think it has the strength, simply because the aliens are withdrawing so many fleets from all over the place back there. Like, we just can't break. There's 2 motherships here. 2 frickin' motherships, which is going to be a problem. You know, I do need to cut sideways again. So, the Inner Sphere class did have a weakness, which is as they got closer and closer to the enemy, when the main enemy laser battleships, which, you know, we definitely saw those in the last video, even though that was like 2 weeks ago for me. I know for certain you guys saw those horrendous laser battleships. They have also, the aliens have iterated them. They've gotten really, really nasty. And because we only just got technological parity with the aliens, they were burning the shit out of our ships. It was not a good time. It was a bad time. But there is a way to keep them distracted. I already hinted at it. You know it. I know it. We all know it. The siege weapons. So we developed the Thunderous Barrage class. Its only purpose is to fire its spinal siege coiler and then its 2 coil gun batteries at the enemy and fill the skies with tons and tons of junk, so that the enemy laser systems in Guardian mode will all try to intercept that rather than shoot at our ships. Now, these guys only have 150 frontal armor. They can survive a good amount of hits, but the aliens love to target these and take them out. That's fine. They're cheap. They're so much cheaper. They cost about 1/3 of the hard metals cost of one of our bigger ships. Perfectly fine. We are willing to sacrifice a Thunderous Barrage or 2 in order to protect the core clumping of the Inner Sphere class. That has been iterated all the way up to the Pack Hunter. The Pack Hunter is the version of the Thunderous Barrage that is meant for long distance travel to escort the rest of the ships to Ludemann. It has the bigger drive. It's got the same amount of armor, so it has the same level of weaknesses, but the aliens are probably going to target them and destroy them, which is fine, because by the time these things die, the rest of our laser battleships will be engaging their battleships, and if we can walk into a close enough range, we'll win. No, I'd win. Anyway, yeah, I think that covers that. Anything else you need to cover? Stockpile, secret bases, loss of... Oh, yeah. We lost the Mercury mines over and over again. So the thing is, Mercury has an increased cost when you are building things there. There's an increased metal cost associated with needing the additional shielding from the sun's radiation. And so when you try to rebuild one of these mines, it costs 3.5 thousand metals. That is an enormous chunk of our metal supply, and we need huge amounts of metals. Let's be very clear here. Each of these expensive ships is costing like 5,000 to 7,000 metals. That means we're making like 6 ships a year. The loss of any of these ships represents a huge portion of humanity's metal costs and time sink. So not great. Fortunately, the Inner Sphere class is proving to be extremely efficient at destroying enemy ships. So we are left with several strategic goals, and we need operational ways to accomplish them. Yes, we do need ultimately to get into the orbit of Ludemann, destroy all of the ships there, bombard both of the sites, and then we need to find Alien Base Alpha, which is here at Freya's Reach. We need to get the counselor that we have that has the special operations group and have them lead a marine team. So we have to have a ship with marines on it to attack this base and attack this thing, the wormhole generator. I mean, I don't think it generates wormholes. I think what it is that it is the it's the anchor point to a wormhole. Anyway, the point is, our final goal is the elimination of the alien threat and the end of the game through that. Getting to Ludemann earlier, as early as possible, would be nice, because obviously they have two shipyards up here pumping out ships. Unfortunately, this isn't the only alien spaceworks that they have. However, they will throw everything that they have to protect it. They will defend that spaceworks with their life. But as we can see here, they are currently attempting to defend the spaceworks with their life. And we just don't have the fleet strength to take on, you know, like this super large fleet has a fleet strength of 8.7. We could probably easily destroy that with the repaired task force servant. But by the time we get there, all these other fleets are going to show up. And that's hardly the only fleet that's in orbit here, right? There's 4 whole fleets. Some of them are just one ship. Some of them are many ships. Some secondary concerns are that there is a alien antimatter mine going on at Saturn, and I believe they also are defending Jupiter aggressively. We need to eliminate those. But you can see they have a huge number of fleets in these locations as well. Here's Victor 905, has almost twice our fleet strength just in this one fleet alone. Huge number of battle cruisers, escorts, that sort of thing. So eliminating the orbits of Jupiter and Saturn, each one of these is going to be its own campaign, because there are numerous alien bases on the moons. There's servant bases out here that they can also refill from or seize. Yeah, I mean, each of these orbits is going to be its own multi-hour arc. And then there is Shadow Knife Station. Now, there's numerous places out here in the orbits of the asteroids that are bad, but it's called 21 something, I think. Where is the Shadow Knife Station, which is where most of the aliens... So here it is, 21 I just had to look for where all the aliens were headed towards. This one, Shadow Knife, is the alien battle station, Spaceworks. This is where they keep coming to refuel, rearm. This is their central coordination base out here. They do not have a huge number of ships out here, but if we go to attack it, they'll bring it back. An alien dreadnought is defending it. They have enormous fleet power. And if we try to move on them using our Earth fleet, the aliens will simply attack during that absence. The other thing to note is that while we have secured Earth orbit from landing ships and all of that such, we can't catch up to the surveillance fleets, so we just make sure to bonk them every few months to force them to restart their mission. It takes 6 months for a surveillance mission to finish, so as long as you attack them and force them to run in that time, they'll restart the counter. We are developing a specific ship type to counter them. The Zergling class, I think it was. Yes, so these are little monitors that have 2 plasma batteries on them. They're capable of pulling medium G maneuvers, you know, 0.6 G, 90 delta V, so they can travel pretty much as far as Jupiter, I should think. Definitely in the inner system. They can go fast enough that they don't need to use orbital physics. They can travel somewhat straight line towards their targets. And yeah, we're gonna try to win. We need to get Task Force Servant repaired, though. It's gonna take 4 weeks. So the problem here is definitely somebody's having engine trouble. Here's some engine troublers. One guy. Now it takes 24 hours. Engine trouble guy will just have to catch up or get caught out. I'm not going to risk the whole fleet spending 4 weeks. Then we're going to clear out the survivors out of a Nazi orbit. Some of the ships managed to drift away from our main fleet. Oh, the Earth fleet is also damaged. And it's not repairing for some reason. Uh-oh. I guess maybe we're not going to be engaging the aliens from Earth. We'll show you the... What? No, I wanted to fight. Why would you say that? I wanted to engage. Alright, we're going in. Did I do it wrong? Yes, here we go. I hit accept instead of engage. Normally the aliens love to fight. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to completely stop our forward movement. These fleets take a little bit more micromanagement than normal. We want the nose cone lasers to be set to attack anything. They should catch any of the small guys that try to burn. Not that these fleets have that much speed or fuel left. You can see we overwhelmingly are using laser titans and battleships. And then all the pack hunters, we're going to target the bigger ships just to make sure that their laser defenses are covering themselves and each other rather than attacking. And then we had a Crusader 2 class, which is the bigger version. Now we're gonna let the aliens drift towards us. We're not moving. We want to maximize the amount of time they're spending at long range. I'm gonna withdraw our radiators right now so that there's less chance of them taking any hits. But one of the aliens just fucking turned around and is booking it. We'll get him eventually, though. Alright, our lasers, you can see, have reached the edge of their usefulness. Stunning victory. Alright, we're just gonna deploy radiators and then auto-resolve. We'll see if we get the last one. Yeah, we did. Cool. So the great part about these ships surviving battles and shooting a bunch is that they get tons of officers, and the officers will continue to improve the effectiveness of each ship. So it turns out staying alive is good for staying alive. Pathology. All right. So now there is a question of what to do with Task Force Serpent. I believe we should continue building more ships as escorts to it. I believe there are already ships being built. Yes, more pack hunters and Way of the Clans. So Way of the Clans is the upgraded version of the Inner Sphere. Unfortunately, they do cost an enormous amount of exotics, so they are difficult to afford, but it looks like we've got enough to build 2 more. So we'll go ahead and rush those out. This will be done in 4 days. We'll also do another wave of pack hunters everywhere. That doesn't seem like it'll have operation. Maybe when we have all of this together in 6 months, we can think about launching an experimental strike on Ludemann. I mean, the thing is that I mean, if we lose that fleet, we lose the majority of our combat power and our ability to attract the aliens. But this is the moment that we have been given by the loss of the huge alien force. I mean, the reason I put these bases so close to Ludemann was to specifically attract an attack. I wanted it to go down like that, and it did. I suppose it's worth talking about the protium converter torch. This is... it is the best drive in the game, although there are several reasons to use other drives, especially fission drives. But you can see that it is quite expensive. It doesn't use antimatter, which has been the thing. So the antimatter is difficult to produce. We're building it in the orbit of Mercury because Mercury gives us really good cost benefits, right? A small number of solar panels are needed in order to power an entire base. A little bit of Mercury goes a long way, and we have a lot of antimatter stored up. So, I'm sorry, did I say a little bit of Mercury? A little bit of antimatter goes a long way. Yeah. Protium converter torch, technically, I think it doesn't use antimatter at all, but it generates like 50 times the amount of power. But as a result, even if it has 98% power efficiency, the size of the radiators of the ships are fucking enormous. However, it does let you get away with ships that have like 2,000 delta V, and lets you do things like send stuff from Earth to the Pluto belts in like 6 months or less. Sometimes I think you can make ships that get like 90 days Earth to out there, or 30 days or less. So this is the drive that really takes you to parity power with the aliens and lets you do the sort of absurd over armored stuff that I've been doing. So for late game like this, we don't have the ability to respond to much, right? We have 6 agents, the aliens have 6 agents, and all of our opponents have 6 agents. And a lot of people are going to attack your biggest settlement. They're going to want to try to flip it to their side simply because the AI recognizes the amount of resources your best thing has. And I don't think we have a lot of ability to break into China or India. We simply don't have a lot of popularity in either of these locations. I guess China to some extent, but China literally has like mass media control that make it super difficult for outsiders to break in if you don't already have some level of control in that place. So we could try to keep expanding the size of our Earth empire. I don't think it's worth it. I think we need to maximize the resources we are getting out of what we have. So we send an advisor to the United States in order to get a 25% bonus
ready to go
out of all the assets we're getting there. Advisor to the EU, advisor to the South American Union, and then we've got our command, although she is now flexibly good at basically everything. We're going to send her to lower resistance in various locations against our rain. So down here in South America, she's going to make it more peaceful. And then we're going to build public opinion in the EU because it's constantly being lowered. We need to raise it back up.
Your orders?
Then, because we know a bunch of people are going to pile in on the EU, we're just going to continuously run surveil locations there to sort of expose them and make the AI want to go home and be unexposed. They're going to try to hide.
My expertise. Offering support.
And if they get annoying enough, we'll just shoot them. So that's like the iterative gameplay that we're looking at right now. I feel like this is a good update. I don't know that much is going to be going on though, because it'll be hours before 6 months have passed, and then it'll take another few months for the ship to travel in the Pluto belts all the way over to Lewiston. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'll bring you another update when something happens. Thanks for joining me on this one. Hope to see you when we defeat. And I don't want to spoil too much about the story. Like, yeah, you've learned about the aliens, but there's also a bunch of stuff that I haven't done on camera. I really want to encourage, and each faction has not only a different take on the aliens, but has a different understanding of how the aliens work, and really only by playing all of them do you get the full story of who the aliens are, how they got here, and what they want. Anyway, that's it for us here. We'll see you for the next one.